Yo, what's up? This is Sleet, and today I want to talk about 5 potential signings that Man City might make, or dream sort of signings that I want them to make to just strengthen the team overall. If you're wondering why I'm wearing the same outfit as the video yesterday, it's because I'm filming this right after that one. Okay, I think I'm going to do this by focusing on what specific thing I want strengthened most. So, for instance, I'm going to start with center back. I think we need a right center back more than any other position, and I'm kind of going to do it like that. And the first 3 I think are signings that we really should make, and the last 2 are signings that would be nice, but I don't think they're as pressing of issues right now. So starting off with the right center back, like I said, I think Laporte needs a reliable partner. I know we just signed Ake, but I think Ake is, despite the price tag, I think he's going to be a backup for Laporte. We saw this year Laporte getting injured and how much that affected the season. I think having somebody like Ake who is a little more composed and not as error prone as somebody like Stones or Otamendi is really going to make a difference, and I think that's a great signing, but we do need somebody to partner Laporte. If you had talked to me maybe a couple of days ago, I would have said my dream signing would be Varane, but after yesterday and the 2 mistakes he made, I don't think people are going to look at Varane in quite the same light as he was, and I don't know if I view him in quite the same way either. I thought he was more of a composed individual than he is. I thought he was more of a leader. It could just be a one-off, and I think it probably is a one-off considering how good he was to win France the World Cup and how he's won the Champions League multiple times. He has such experience for somebody that's still quite young compared to other players, especially for a center back. I think he's got his best years ahead of him and physically fits the mold of what I want. I want somebody fast, strong, commanding, and a leader at the back, because I think we have a lot of composed defenders, and I think Laporte himself is that guy to kind of move the ball forward and pass up the field, break the line, but I think we need a real out-and-out defender. Again, I don't think Koulibaly was the best against Messi and Napoli, but I think Koulibaly is the signing I'm going to go for as my number 1 choice. I want Koulibaly. I was very convinced of him after last season, and since he's been linked with City, I've seen a lot of people criticizing him, and I've also seen a lot of videos kind of showing weaknesses in his game. The 2 games against Liverpool where Salah kind of did him or pushed him over and it made him seem weak or slow, I think he's better than those moments. I think most players in the world can get done by Salah. He's one of the best attackers in the world, and if you make a mistake as a defender, it's always going to be more obvious than if you do it as an attacker. The game that I saw that really convinced me that I wanted Koulibaly to sign was the one that Napoli had against Inter Milan recently. I think Lukaku is very underrated after his time at Man United, but physically, at the very least, he is one of the top strikers in the world. I don't think anybody has that same kind of combination of pace and strength, and he's just a deadly finisher when he gets the chance. And while he did get the better of Koulibaly a couple of times in that game, I thought Koulibaly handled himself very well. He showed how fast he is. He showed his strength. And while positionally, I thought he was kind of all over the place against Barcelona. I thought he did very well, especially against Nelson Semedo a couple of times, who is a very fast player. The second position that City need to strengthen is left back. And ideally, I think I want a first choice left back. I think Zinchenko is just not quite good enough. I think he is a good technical player, but physically he's not cut out for Manchester City. I don't think he's the type of player that's going to be here and help us win a Champions League or be in the final for a Champions League or help us really push in the Premier League. Despite him doing very well at times, it's just always been a problem area and a weakness in our team, and I think it needs somebody stronger. I think Mendy is good, and I think for the price I was expecting more. I think the injuries have kind of slowed him down. Being in and out of the team so much has kind of hindered him from really being as composed as I think he would have been, and compiling that onto the injuries makes him not quite as strong as I would have liked for a first choice. I think when we have somebody like Walker on the right and Cancelo is the backup, and those are 2 very strong players, I think Mendy can be more of a backup, and I'd get rid of Zinchenko, but I think I want a first choice left back. Or at the very least, somebody similar to Mendy's level who can push him to be better, and Mendy can push them to be better, and they can really compete for that position. My dream would be Alaba. I've loved David Alaba, watching him play for so many years for Bayern. I think it's rare that anybody's that composed as a defender. I think he's almost trained to be a midfielder, an attacking midfielder, or at the very least a DM, but he's so good in the back. Because when the ball comes to him, it's not necessarily that he needs to tackle. It's not necessarily that he needs to tackle or crunch in the tackles. He's just very smart. He intercepts the ball a lot. His touch is fantastic. So when the ball comes, he just takes it down. In the game against Chelsea recently, I remember him intercepting after a good run from Kovacic. He just always seems to be in the right place at the right time, even though he's in center back in that game. He can play left back. And the only thing I could see stopping this from happening is Alaba himself. I think he wants to... I don't think he wants to go to England because I think he might be a little intimidated by the physicality or the way that league is. But I think he would fit our system very well, probably better than he thinks. There are rumors he wants to move somewhere where he can play in the midfield. And for a Pep team, at least at City, the way we play is normally with the two center backs back, and Walker will either drop in to be like a third center back, at least when we're in possession, or Roger will drop and maybe Walker will push up. But the left back as well gets to push up. And when one of the fullbacks pushes up to like kind of join the attack or give support to our winger, the other one normally comes into the midfield. Like we start playing this like 3-3-3 sort of formation with like a striker. And I think Alaba would excel in that position. He's fantastic with long passing. He's very composed defensively. He definitely smart enough to be that kind of transition player to go from the midfield to left back and back and forth up and down the field if you wanted. I'm going to go with Alaba as my first choice, but if that didn't happen, I think my backup choice for that would be Reguilon. Or Reguilon, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. The guy who was, or the Real Madrid left back who was on loan at Sevilla. I think he was voted as the best La Liga defender this year, and the price that's being quoted for Chelsea targeting him, somewhere around 20 million. He's very young, he's very fast. I think he's very good attacking-wise. I saw him score a wonder goal near the end of the season. He's good at crossing, he's good at least getting forward, and I think he'd fit with this kind of Spanish-speaking contingent in our team. People like Laporte next to him and Rodri in front of him. I think he'd fit our system very well, he'd fit in with the team. I think he'd provide very good competition for Mendy. I think they're similar level of players, but I think maybe Reguilon has a higher ceiling, at least in that he's younger. He'd be, at the very least, be somewhat cheap for a backup and potential starter. Alright, the third role in the team that I think needs to be filled is a midfielder, like a secondary DM kind of player or a box-to-box who can play alongside Rodri and can allow for De Bruyne to play more centrally, especially in bigger games, like what happened yesterday. I think Gundogan has been very good, and I am a big fan of Gundogan to an extent, but I think he's a bit, at the very least, Gundogan's past his prime, and I think there needs to be somebody a little more mobile in there, especially with Rodri not having the best pace. I don't think you can win these major trophies with too many players having not great pace or not good speed, especially for how at the field we play. That's why like with our left back and center back, I'm looking for a bit more physical players like Alaba, Reguilon, Koulibaly. These players are faster than what we have now. And the midfielder I think I'd go with is Benacer. We've been linked to him recently. Pep, I think, said that he liked him. The only downside to him is I've seen some comments saying that he likes Man United. I think he was a youth player at Arsenal in the past, but I think I could easily see him filling that role, and I could see him coming to City. He's not got this big reputation yet, so I don't think he'd expect to start every game, which is exactly what we need. I think most games we'd play a 4-3-3, but in those games where you need that extra cover or extra balance, I think he'd be the perfect signing. A lot of people have wanted Aouar, and I think he is a very technically gifted player. I think he's very good going forward, but I think for that position, we don't need that. We have too many players like that. If we play a 4-3-3 like we normally do, Rodri is the holding. You've got De Bruyne in front as one of the false eights, and then the other false eight can be Bernardo, it can be Foden, and they both have enough attacking skill and they both have enough running power. I think they fill that void very well. We have cover there. We don't need somebody like Aouar because we already have players like that. I think Benacer fits something that we don't have. He's more of a mobile midfielder. He's still very technically gifted. He's got more long balls than Aouar. I think I'm going to put a graphic somewhere on the screen about from Who Scored comparing their two statistics this year. Okay, as you can see from from that comparison, while Aouar is the better attacking player, that's not what we need. And I think just passing wise, Benacer is better. He's got a higher passing percentage. He makes more long passes per game. And he's also way better defensively in terms of interceptions and tackles. We need somebody like that to kind of fill that void. And being young, I think he's the perfect player. He's not going to want to start every game, and I think he's very, very talented, and he can grow into that position if we start to play that more in the future. Okay, the last two signings of the 5 that I'm going to discuss today are both more unrealistic players, or more unrealistic transfers, especially for this window. I could see them potentially happening in the future, at least one of them. The other one doesn't look like it's going to happen. But these are players that I like, and I think they would add something, or I think they would both add a new dynamic to the way City play. So the 4th player that I'm going to lock in is Haaland. Of course, this has been his breakout year. He's got the connection to City. His dad used to play for City. He himself has attended City games as a child, and there's pictures of him wearing the kit. What I like about Haaland is that he's very different than some of the other players we have. He is a strong, tall, fast striker. We don't really have somebody like that. Aguero isn't quite as fast as he used to be, but he is very clinical. But when Aguero is injured, Jesus isn't that same finisher. Sterling isn't quite that same level of finisher. For the amount of chances that City produce, we should score even more goals than we do. I know that sounds a little ridiculous to rival fans. We should be scoring way more goals than we do. In games where we have troubles against like very, very low blocks, like a Newcastle or against a Southampton, we've been crossing for years and we're missing somebody like a Dzeko. I think Haaland can be that. I know his heading stats aren't very good. I think his like heading percentage or like amount of goals he scored with his header is like not a very high number, but he is clinical, he is tall, and he is young, so he can definitely learn to do that or become that sort of player. And on top of that, his natural game already fits what City do. He's very fast, he can help counter, he's good passing, he's good dropping back, he's good at holding up the ball. If we did sign somebody like that, I'd say Jesus could move on to the wing. Jesus for a winger is then very clinical, but when you look at him as a striker, I don't think of him as as deadly. But from the wing, he can cut it on his right. He is very skillful. He's fast. He works very hard. He's good defensively. And I think he'd fit a little better there. And somebody like Haaland would be more of a presence in the middle. And the 5th potential signing, this one is like a real dream. This is not going to happen. It seems like Sancho is going to United right now. But I've been a fan of Jadon Sancho for a very long time. I remember going onto the Facebook group for Manchester City or whatever way that they aired it on Facebook and watching youth games. And like I used to never watch youth games. When I heard about Sancho and I saw some clips of him, I felt like I needed to do that because I was very excited for this guy to come through. Watching Sancho with Foden and with Brahim, I always thought he was the standout guy, and I was really looking forward to him coming to play in the first team, or at least getting a chance, especially under Pep. I thought it would be similar to Messi, Pep coaching this young player and being able to tutor him into being one of the best players in the world. But instead, Sancho had some kind of attitude issue. Pep didn't like him. We sold him to Borussia Dortmund. I guess he just left Borussia Dortmund and we got some fee for it. But he is one of the best. He's one of the best players in the world right now, despite his age. For that age, he's arguably like the best young player in the world right now. And it kind of pains me that City aren't looking at him. He even said a couple weeks ago that he wouldn't mind going back to City. And then Pep kind of quanned that. But I think he does fit our team more than maybe Pep realizes. Mahrez isn't the youngest player. And if Sterling's not playing well, right now we don't have a real winger that can just come in and solve that issue. Ferran Torres was signed, but he's not the finished article. It's going to take him a long time to kind of, at least in my opinion, I think it will take him a long time to just compete against those players like Mahrez and Sterling. There is like a Sané-shaped hole in our team, and I think Sancho would have been the perfect guy to fill that. While I am very excited for the Torres signing, I might make another video on that sometime, I think Sancho would be incredible. And given that we can get the 15% discount on his price because of the sell-on fee clause or whatever, I think it was foolish for City not to go to him, especially if he ends up at United. It's going to pain me to see Sancho wearing United shirt in the first place. And then also, if they go on to win the league or anything serious with Sancho in their team, or Sancho scoring against City will just feel wrong. given how easily we let him leave and what a quality player he is. Okay, guys, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. Leave a comment, please, about what you think about these potential signings, or what players you might want to see at City, or at whatever club that you support, what signings you want them to make. I'll make other videos maybe about transfers from other teams, or when transfers are completed here, I'll make another video about how those players can add to the team. I might make one on Ake and one on Torres, given that they've already signed, and I'm excited about both of them, and I want to give my thoughts on that. That's it for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.